Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Launch Codes Football. I'm Chris W.
I'm Chris P.
And I'm Chelsea, unfortunately coming in third again. That's what I get for missing another episode.
But you're here this time, so let's give a shout out to Chelsea being here this time.
Yes, thank you. I did decide to show up this week.
Wow. No, it's great that we're all three back together again. How's everyone feeling today?
Doing pretty good, halfway through the week, so can't be mad at that.
True.
Can't complain.
Yeah.
What
Well,
about you, Chris? How are you?
I'm here and I'm ready to talk about some of these crazy things that have happened. And
That's the
so
spirit.
it really is. And you know what else is the spirit? Oh my gosh, that massacre that happened this week. Eagles versus 49ers. Well, I don't think any of us were expecting it to be this bad here. But to give some context to what happened in this game, we're gonna take a big dive into this. So yeah, as Chris is posting here and making it very known, the Eagles got shellacked on their
Good
home
word.
field. Thank you, thank you. On national TV, I'm sorry, but they were disrespected and embarrassed on their home field. 42 to 19. Crazy part, they were winning by the end of the first quarter. Like the 49ers offense in the first quarter by the end had done the worst they had done all season. It was crazy. But then all of a sudden they just turned it on and Eagles couldn't recover. They couldn't do anything on offense. And I I don't know, man. This is crazy. Hurts did go out briefly through the concussion protocol, but he came back in the game, so and he was cleared from it, so he's good there. The Eagles could not get any of their run game going, which is crazy considering they have that crazy stacked offensive line and DeAndre Swift, who got leveled this week. My goodness. I don't know if you guys saw that hit, but that was I'm honestly surprised more than anything that there was no flag. Like when I saw him, like, oh, flag coming, and then nothing, which is crazy to me. Um, Now, just some crazy things have come out of this. I mean, not, right after this game on Monday, the Eagles went and signed Shaq Leonard off of waivers. They're like, we need help on defense. If for those of you who don't know, Colts linebacker, as Chelsea very well knows, very good for the Colts. Good pickup for the Eagles. They're trying to sign the whole NFL basically. They're just trying to make a super team, I swear. But yeah, guys, what did you think of this beatdown that happened last Sunday?
I mean, just looking at the stats and not really analyzing the game outside of that, it's pretty obvious that the Eagles lost the majority of this game, at least offensively, based on their running game. I mean, the 49ers had 146 total rushing yards and the Eagles had 46. And that's pretty crazy if you know anything about how the Eagles have performed this year with DeAndre Swift. I mean, I have him on fantasy and PPR, and bro goes off every single week. This was by far
Mhm.
his worst week, which speaks volumes to the 49ers defense, I think, because the Eagles have one of the best O lines in football. But that 49ers defense, they did not come to play. They came to win, and they did,
Mhm.
and it was not pretty.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think, Chris? What did you think of this game?
Oh, I enjoyed every single minute of it. Oh, I enjoyed it. Um,
Explain, please.
oh well, I like I said from last week, and I think the Eagles fan base is probably the worst, and so for them to get crushed at home is kind of like a reminder for them to be humbled in a way, because they've if you look up Eagles like fans, I believe the first thing you probably will see is them like harassing other fans. So I'm just like, this is so funny because like the 49ers, they're a really good team. Brock Purdy, he's showing that he's not a nobody, but he's a somebody, and he definitely showed up and said, I'm here, I'm going to beat the best team here. And he walked in with $60 worth of clothes all probably bought from Walmart, and walked out with a win. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts came in with his bougie store stuff and he came out with the L. So, but I think ultimately, I think the 49ers, they were prepared for this mentally, and they showed that they didn't stop from scoring. Some teams will just say, all right, we're up. Let's just run the ball and let's just kill time. They were not killing time. They wanted to kill these people, and they did.
Mhm.
Jalen Hurts did the best he could, from throwing a touchdown to a rushing touchdown. Really, AJ Brown did the best he could too with Devontae Smith. But at the end of the day, you can't stop an electrifying offense and electrifying defense as they shut down the Eagles. So I think that was just a realization to the Eagles of like this team that they're playing is a Super Bowl team. So definitely showed up. So that's what I think. I hope Jalen Hurts, he'll bounce back. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And kind of looking at this game, like I think it's pretty obvious that, the majority of the problems that the Eagles have reside on the defensive side. I don't think you're going to find many people that are going to say that they have a terrible offense even after this game. I mean, really the only piece that they're missing is Dallas Goedert, who's been hurt, which is a big loss for them. He's a big red zone target, gets a lot of catches down the seam. So not having him definitely affects their offense. But when they have him, I mean, it's one of the best offenses in football. So I don't think most people are going to look at this game and go, yes, it's the offense's fault. Like, because I
No.
look at this game, that's not what I think. This is primarily a defensive problem, which is not what you want if you're an Eagles fan, considering most of the heavy hitting firepower that is going to end up in the playoffs this year is looking like it's going to come from the NFC end rather than the AFC end, considering the AFC has just been decimated by injuries, particularly at the quarterback position.
Yeah. I mean, I really think just for the Eagles in general for this game though, that this has to be your wake-up call.
Absolutely.
I think, and I mean for the GM, they love their GM. Howie is very much loved in Philly, and rightfully so. Feels like he steals from people, man. Like he basically stole Kevin Byard. He's getting Shaq Leonard for free. Like I don't know how you do that, but that's crazy. But I really think this game has got to be a wake up for them because they, 10-1, feeling really good, coming off of that crazy win against Buffalo. And I know that they know every game is earned and it's hard, but I think sometimes losing can be a good thing for you. But I also would like to say that I think this game was good for the 49ers to know that, because they felt like they didn't get a real chance last year in the NFC Championship. They felt like, hey, if our quarterback doesn't go out, we could beat them. And they were able to not completely prove it, because it's not the playoffs yet, but they were able to show, hey, we can beat this team. And not only that, beat them bad and embarrass them. And honestly, you can't play the 49ers style of football. You can't play it with them because they're the best at it. They're just very run heavy. They run the clock out. And when they're in the lead, they're probably going to win the game because they're very good at holding their leads, killing clock, scoring a lot of points. But I think really where you got to beat them is you got to make them throw a lot. I'm not saying Brock can't throw. Of course he can. Look at his stats. He played really well this week, but I would say that he has so much help in that running game that you have to be scared of everything. And so I think that because of that, Brock is able to really kind of relax more in the passing game. And so I really think this was the Eagles got to wake up if they're going to make the Super Bowl again. Like this is supposed to be their revenge year. And if they don't take, some pride and buck up a little bit, they're going to lose to somebody. It could be anybody. Honestly, you can lose to anyone in the NFL. They lost to the Jets. Let's all remember that.
Without Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly. And the Jets are awful. So yeah, I think this is This was a crazy game. Or I think just the surprises, the amount that they lost by. If it was like a
Right.
3-point game, it is what it is, you know. You lose those. But this just getting embarrassed on your home field, that's bad.
Two things in particular stood out to me about this game. The end of the game, when you were, watching the second half of the fourth quarter, the last 5 minutes, whatever, most of the stadium was gone. I don't know about you guys, but never in my life have I seen Lincoln Financial Field not full in a primetime game or any game. So that's when you know that it's bad. Literally, the own Eagles fans filed out and abandoned their team. Like, it was that bad. And second of all, for their defense, I really don't think that the problem is their D line at all. I think they have the best, deepest, most established D line in the entire league. I think that the problem primarily resides with their linebackers and their cornerbacks and their safeties. Especially linebacker seems like the problem. Now you go on, Eagles subreddit or Eagles Instagram, and they might argue a bit with you about that. But I really don't think it's a D-line thing. I think it's the other two levels of the defense that are struggling. And I mean, that kind of takes us into the Shaq Leonard signing, right? Obviously, formerly known as Darius Leonard, played for the Colts, was an all-pro, very good, arguably a top one, linebacker at one point. That's how good he was. And then he suffered a back injury that had like some nerve issues within it. And he just has not been the same. Now, when he was cut from the Colts, I was shocked that he was cut midseason. I didn't think he was going to make it onto the roster next season. I thought they were going to give him the rest of the year just to see, if he could come back from it. Maybe it was taking him a while to warm up, whatever. Obviously, that is not the path that they took, which many Colts fans found to be quite surprising. I mean, his playing time had been, cut almost to none. Every time he was on the field, something went wrong, which, having watched Shaq Leonard, having, seen him be drafted, having, seen him be a top 3 linebacker for years, it's jarring. He goes out on the field and you expect him to make a play and he just gets run over, which is just crazy because if you know anything about him, he did not used to be like that at all. So any Eagles fans listening to this podcast episode, I will caution you, if Shaq Leonard gets back to how he was playing before his back injury, he could be one of the best linebackers in the league. Honestly, he has the tools to be it. But if he doesn't, don't be surprised if you put him on the field and he just isn't it. And that pains me to say. Like he was one of my favorite players on the team. I have his jersey signed hanging on my wall. Like all I want for him is to succeed. Like he's already done it so much in the league. It's not to say he can't get back to it, but if his current course continues, I just don't foresee him being, a permanent starter for the next, 6 to 7 years in the league. If he keeps playing how he's playing, I just don't see it, which is just heartbreaking because he just used to be one of the best. So I think if there's any place that he can go and succeed, it's probably Philly. Considering how good their defense has been before, they have a good coaching staff in place, et cetera, et cetera. So I hope that he has success there, finds it, and, plays well. And I hope he goes and gets a ring. Like if they win, I want him to get a ring. Like he deserves it. He's such a good guy. I mean, he literally got fired the day he was downtown Indianapolis handing out turkeys. Like what? Very bad PR look for the Colts, but that's another story. But regardless, I hope that he does come in and offer some value for the Eagles. I just honestly don't know if he's going to come in and be a perennial starter. I just don't know. He just hasn't played like it this year. And, when you're recovering from a back injury that has nerve issues, like, the curve is steep. So it could take longer than average from a different injury to work back up to it. Maybe the Colts just didn't give him a long enough leash. And if that's how it works out, you're going to have a lot of Colts fans that are very angry if he comes back and is elite with the Eagles. But regardless of that fact, I hope he goes in and performs and succeeds and, does his classic punch out the ball move like he did with us. But if he comes in and he plays above average, it's going to help their defense a lot. If he comes in and plays average or below, Eagles fans are probably not going to like him that much, which breaks my heart because he's such a great guy.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how that pickup's going to be. And I mean, it could be great for the Eagles. It could be meh. Although I don't blame them for getting him. I feel like it's honestly the
either.
best for both team or both parties in that case. Also
And
Chelsea.
Eagles
Yeah.
fans were happy because they took him from the Cowboys. So
Yeah, exactly.
you know that they were, thrilled after that happened. So even if he's
Speaking-
bad, as long as I can take someone from the Cowboys, that's all that matters, honestly.
Yeah. And speaking of, they play in Jerry World this week. So
Oof.
that's going to be really interesting to see how they bounce back from this game. AJ Brown was like, look, we just didn't come with that same intensity that we normally do or should have against San Francisco. But he said, we're going to see on Sunday. That's what he said. So Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys in Jerry World, going to be a very hostile environment. I'll give them this. If they can win this game, that's a pretty big deal. Winning in your rivals stadium, especially one like the Cowboys where they hate you there, even though there'll be a decent amount of Eagle fans, it's still going to be probably like 95% Cowboys. They're all showing up. So if they can
and on prime time too.
Exactly. So if they can respond in this game and win it, like that's a good statement saying, hey, we're not fake. So I'm going to be interested definitely in that one. But also Chelsea posted an article here to us that saying that Jalen Hurts should be benched for Marcus Mariota. You know who I want to ask this? Chris, you are Jalen Hurts' biggest doubter on this show. Do you think that he should be benched for Marcus Mariota? Stop. You do not.
Don't even.
You do not.
Come on, man.
Well, honestly, has Jalen Hurts? Okay, here's the real question, and this is something that you have to remember.
Okay.
So Jalen Hurts, yes, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I can acknowledge that he's a very good player. And he also has a very good O-line, right? And he also has a well team around him, but he hasn't been electrifying throughout this year. Like I'm just saying, like he has not been electrifying. Of like last year, he was up for the running and he was like blowing people out of the water, dropping 4 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns and then 2 rushing. Is like he hasn't been like that crazy from last year, to be honest. Last year he was like there was a big standout from him and everyone else. This year it's kind of been like not like an average. He's top tier, of course, but it's like him and Mahomes, they all have been mediocre, kind of like just kind of like flatlining the way as to like just like we're here, but we're like what happened to us, And so don't get me wrong. I think any sort of quarterback would fit well with the Eagles, to be honest.
Wow.
I think I really think with their sort of kind of like Brock Purdy, people thought of him as, oh, well, he is a top tier now, but look at his offense. Look at his defense. They have a great team around him. Like literally, if he's getting rushed, he has McCaffrey as a safety option. If you want to throw out to Deebo Samuel, he's there. It's like he has Kittle. Like he has offense right there, and so does Jalen Hurts. And so that's the thing. Like the amount of time he can sit in the pocket and just like he can probably write a book while his O-line is literally just defending him. And don't get me wrong, but like, just think of anyone else. What if Mahomes had a great O-line? What if Brock Purdy was on there? It just makes me wonder, since these dynasties or these sort of, not dynasties, can't say that yet, but if these big teams are pushing for the playoffs, if the O-line, and I do believe O-line is substantial, but it makes me wonder, when does, Kelsey, whenever he retires, how will that impact the team? If you haven't looked, a lot of their O-line are older, and once they leave, I believe Jalen Hurts and the Eagles will go down significantly, because you can't replace these old offensive linebackers for these newer ones who are still learning. I mean, look at the Panthers. We're still trying to recover, and look, we thought we had a great left tackle, and he's over here letting up as many sacks as he wants to, because we have no way to replace him. So that just makes me wonder with these sort of super teams, like they're vying for it. And I know for the 49ers, Brock Purdy is his rookie deal. He's being paid chump change. Like, I hate to say that, but he's being paid chump change. So, like, for him, he needs to get paid. Like, you got to bump him up just a little bit, not too much. But like, with these teams, like, they're throwing everything out there. Now, is it substantial for the longer time? I don't think it is, because like Tom Brady, I mean, he made his wide receivers look great. He literally, like Edelman, he came from having a quarterback background to an all-star, all-pro, a sort of wide receiver. Like, that's crazy thinking about it. So my thought is, can it be Mariota? I don't think it would be Mariota. He's not like average, but I would say like any sort of good sort of quarterback would destroy people. And I think Jalen Hurts is a good player. Don't get me wrong. But I think both sides, even Jalen Hurts going to the 49ers, I think he would drop 4 or 5 touchdowns, just like Brock could on the Eagles. So
there you have it,
Yeah.
folks.
I mean, that's not a horribly unreasonable take. I can definitely see the argument behind that. And I mean, part of being an elite quarterback is elevating the talent around you, which could be argued that Purdy and Hurts are both doing that, which is one of the reasons why their offenses are performing even better than they would be ordinarily. So there's definitely an argument for it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I think Jalen Hurts should win MVP, because I don't. He's 19-10 right now, touchdown to interception ratio, which is about 2-1, which is pretty good by most NFL quarterback standards. However, I am of the opinion that it's not nearly good enough to win MVP. But that's just me. Normally, it's a lot lower than that for guys that are in the running. And like you said, Chris, I mean, Mahomes is having a similar year. I mean, look at Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts at least has wide receivers that are sustainable. I mean, look at Patrick Mahomes. His number one wide receiver is a rookie. So he has definitely probably is missing Tyreek Hill right about now. And your point remains. I mean, Travis Kelce is getting older, and he said something on his podcast with his brother that like he thinks about retirement more than people think he does. I mean, bro is in his 30s.
Jason Kelce?
No, Travis Kelce.
Oh, Travis did?
Travis Kelce mentioned like, hey, like, I'm still playing. I'm still elite. Like, I love football, but like, I think about retirement. I'm in my 30s. Like, once you get into the 30s and you're a tight end, like, you're getting up there for a tight end. I mean, most tight ends don't stay elite past 35, I mean, look at some of the guys that just aren't that way. Like, look at Jimmy, what's his last name? He used to play for the Saints and the Seahawks. I mean, look at him. I mean, he is still playing as far as I know, and he's still a tight end, and he's old, but I mean, he's not, making a significant impact on offense. So, I mean, it's only a matter of time before Travis Kelce is gone. And like you said, they have been able to tread water with Tyreek leaving and going to the Dolphins, and that's great. But if Travis Kelce retires in the next 3 years, if they do not get someone in there who can replace his production, we'll see. I mean, I'm of the opinion that Mahomes is like Brady. Mahomes makes the people around him better. So I think if they went in, brought a bunch of young people in or some veterans or whatever, I think Mahomes would elevate them to a level that they'd be better otherwise than they would otherwise. But that would not replace Travis Kelce. But as for the original question, we all agree that Marcus Mariota should not replace Jalen Hurts, right? Like, we can all concur on that.
Yes.
I guess.
Good Lord.
Good job. We all agree.
Wow, we agreed on something, guys.
Wow.
So speaking of agreeing on things, though, I think we should go to our next fun topic. MVP. Nice photo, Chris. I like this.
Good photo. Beautiful.
So we're all gonna just discuss who we think should be the MVP of the league. And so, if it were to end I guess today, but who we think is going to be MVP by the end of the year. I can make my case first. So my case is an easy one to me. What? What? You don't even know the answer.
No,
Keep
keep explaining.
going.
Please,
Keep
please,
going.
please.
Yes. We're ready and anxious to hear.
I think that the MVP should be CJ Stroud. And you know what? That is a base take, and I will, unless something horrible happens, I'll die on that hill because
That's not
actually
unreasonable.
he is hard carrying the Texans. They were awful before him. They were so bad without him. And now all of a sudden they're competing for a playoff spot. And it's not impossible for them to go far in the playoffs. He looks incredible. He is putting up numbers that we haven't seen from rookies before. This is actually ridiculous. Like, if you're going, I know no rookies ever won the MVP. We know that. We know all that. Who cares? Who cares about what happened in the past, man? Like, the past
This is
doesn't
the
matter
present.
anymore. This is the present. We can change things if we want. We're not bound to the past here. So honestly, CJ Stroud, I know it's not just him. I know his team overall is playing better, and he's had guys like Tank Dell really step up. But I would argue he's also raised their level of play. He's brought a whole new just atmosphere in that building because that building was depressed before, man. Everyone was sad as a Texans fan. You just had that whole Deshaun Watson situation go on right before this, and they were still suffering, I guess, from the effects of that. Their coach was getting clowned for winning a game and not getting the number 1 pick. That ended up to be the decision, I guess, is win that game. If you go on Houston Texans Reddit, man, they worship that man for winning that one game. It's honestly, it doesn't make sense. It's stupid how good CJ's playing. I know he's had some bad moments. For some reason, his kryptonite is playing bad teams. Like, he can't beat the Panthers and had a bad game against, I think, Tampa or something. Or just if you give him a team with a bad record, suddenly he struggles. But he's up there with the best of them, and wasn't that far off from beating the Jags. Just won this past week in a tough game against Denver, which I know it wasn't all him, but of course his defense showed up at the end, getting the pick in the red zone. This is not about who is the one-man team here, but I don't think that's what the MVP is. But if you're talking about who is the most valuable player in the NFL to their team right now, in my opinion, it has to be Stroud. He is playing phenomenal. He is carrying that team in a lot of ways, and he has put a new life in that building that hasn't been seen since, well, Deshaun Watson. So, yeah. All right. I'm done. I don't know what you guys think, but that's my pick for MVP.
A month and a half ago, that people probably would have said that you were crazy if you had said that. Now, no one's going to say that is an unreasonable take. I mean, all you have to do is turn 5 minutes of CJ Stroud highlights on YouTube, and it'll tell you most of the story. I mean, the guy is playing phenomenal. The Texans could not have asked for anything better than what they have gotten from him. And while he has not been perfect, which no one expects because he's a rookie, our commissioner of our fantasy league frequently talks about this. He says, before the season started, everyone thought the Texans had the worst team in the league. Now, when you ask people about, rookie quarterbacks carrying teams and making them better, people say, oh, well, the Texans have a better roster than the Panthers. The only reason they have a better roster than the Panthers is because CJ Stroud is elevating everyone around him, and Bryce Young is not. That is just the current reality. So if you're a Texans fan, I mean, I cannot imagine that you could be much happier than you are right now. I mean, obviously I'm not a Texans fan. They're a division rival, but Stroud is a good kid. He's really good at football. Came from Ohio State. Boo is in the Texans. Boo. But I can't help but cheer for him. I mean, he's just so easy to like, and he's just so talented. And, if this is the the level that he starts at, and he's all uphill from here. The Texans have found their franchise guy for what, the next probably 15 years. I mean, if you're a Texans fan, you cannot be happier. I don't think anyone at the beginning of the year was going to say Nico Collins is arguably a top 10 wide receiver in the league. Look at him now. Statistically, he might be, and there's an argument for it. Was he that last year? No. One of the reasons he's playing as well as he is because of CJ Stroud. And I mean, I think that's case enough for there to at least be an argument for him to win MVP.
All right. Chris, what do you think? You agree? Disagree?
Okay, so I'm more of the big picture dude. I like to see everything before I say something. And don't get me wrong, I think CJ Stroud is good. But the people he plays, don't get me wrong, but the people he plays are not the best people. The only people I could see that might be good that he has played is maybe the Ravens, which he lost to. And
Denver? They were coming off the longest win streak in the NFL. They just won.
the Ravens?
No, I'm saying that they beat
No, the
they beat
Broncos.
Denver this week, who had the longest winning streak in the NFL.
Broncos? Yeah, okay, but Russell Wilson also isn't the best, you know?
Russell Wilson has had a good year.
Well, he's had interesting ups and downs.
Yes,
That's fair.
That's true.
fair.
So that being said, but like I'm looking at the whole entire season wise. And yes, don't get me wrong, he's good. I think the Panthers made a mistake. And I think a rookie for him to literally win it as a rookie is very difficult and hard. But also, and he has made an impact on his team because the Texans were trash when he got there. But I would like for him to play actually like versus a good team like the Eagles or the 49ers and to test the waters over a good Super Bowl play now team to see the reactions he has. The Broncos are not a Super Bowl team. They're trying the best they can to make it out there, but nor the Jaguars, nor
The Jaguars
literally
are pretty good though. They're like in the second seed in the AFC.
The Jags are the division leaders in the AFC, but Trevor did just go down, so there's a caveat.
Yes.
But all that to say, before that, I mean, they've been winning games, and Trevor's been playing not at the level he should be, which
Okay,
leads
but
to their team.
continue. Go.
But
Yeah.
the reason why I'm saying that now is because I believe he needs to try and see if he can get those stats with a good Super Bowl or some sort of team, because I feel like
Okay.
when he gets to playoffs, if they make it to the playoffs,
Hmm.
I think he's going to get surprised at the amount of talent and level these Super Bowl teams, 49ers, the Eagles, or any sort of big team in the playoff. I think that will surprise him.
That's fair.
Because
fair.
right now he's playing teams are okay. They're not the best of the best, but they're
Yep.
okay. And I think that helped him ease into this. So I think he initially I thought he would be a good MVP candidate, but also I don't want people to play bad teams, get great stats, and then say, oh, he's MVP when he hasn't played a good team yet. You know, and I don't.
They
think
did beat the Bengals though when they had Burrow.
With Joe Burrow
who
in
also,
Cincinnati.
who also had a struggle his first couple of weeks, saying that he was injured and with his thumb.
That's
and
true.
And you have to remember, like, he played terrible throughout the first couple of weeks. Even with that game, he played terrible. And they tried their best. So,
Well, that
I
game was
really-
only 4 weeks ago.
yeah, but you also, Burrow is out now with that little hand injury, which he still states that are not the same thing. But I will say the Bengals right now are shady.
What if he got scammed? What if he scammed the Bengals actually? If secretly he just wanted his money and then he's like, oh, I'm hurt, you know?
Yeah, I broke something, but I mean, they're playing against the Jets, and their Jets have a good defense. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah, but
I
they're
don't
not.
think I
Yeah,
still think they're going to win because the Jets offense, Zach Wilson has been announced the QB. So anytime Zach Wilson
reluctantly.
plays, somehow he pulled out a win when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, but other than that, they've been taking L's. So, but
Okay,
that's my case for
fair enough. I
CJ
mean,
Stroud.
I do understand because the Texans were last in their division last year. They were terrible. So they're playing all the last place teams of this, of last year, this year. I mean, their upcoming schedule is the Jets, Titans, Browns, Titans, Colts. Colts are pretty good. The Browns are pretty decent. But the Titans twice and the Jets, like you can easily finish this like 3-2 at least, you know. But anyways, that's enough about my pick. Chelsea, who's your MVP candidate?
So, not that I expect this to happen because based on how the league operates, it probably won't. But
She's
I
gonna
think
say
on
Gardner.
paper, it should. Yes. How did you know? On paper, I don't think this is unreasonable. My pick is Tyreek Hill. And I know that non-quarterbacks never win MVP. And should it be that way? No. I personally don't think so. But you look at Tyreek Hill, that offense is not that offense without him.
Yep.
I think that it is unarguable that he's the best receiver in the league right now. And I think he's probably one of the best players in the league right now. He doesn't carry their offense, but without him, they are not the same. They just are not. Jalen Waddle is good. Achane is good. They have really good players on their team. Tua is good. Their whole team is loaded and is stacked. They have a great coach, great coaching staff, but you take Tyreek Hill off that team, makes you wonder. That is personally my pick. He just has a huge impact every game. I mean, he is one of the primary reasons that they have dropped as many points as they have in, many games this year. He is Tua's guy. That there's just plain and simple. That's just how it is. And we're seeing the ramifications of him not being on the Chiefs versus him being on the Dolphins. And I don't know about you guys, but those offenses look drastically different with him and without him. So that's my pick for MVP as of this moment. Like I said, I know how the NFL operates. They won't vote a non-quarterback. But if they did, I think that this is who they should vote. I mean, he has a pretty good chance to be a 2,000-yard receiver this year. That is crazy.
Okay, I can see it. I can see Tyreek Hill. I think that's a base take. He is kind of like the offense. Of course they have their run game, but Tyreek Hill's definitely what makes that offense feared. So I'll give that. Chris, thoughts? Yes, no, hate it, love it, meh.
Tyreek Hill, yeah, I don't think he'll ever win it, to be honest. Because you know how the NFL, they rather vote a quarterback that is literally throwing interceptions.
Boo the
than
past. Frick the
I'm
past.
yeah, well, they're just gonna silence you like they did with that NFL photographer. But
gosh.
How awful. Which he's paying his salary, by the way.
which is a good thing. But they never said that. Is he being reinstated with the NFL? I don't think he is.
Not
Beats
this
me.
year.
Knowing the NFL, probably not. But
Yeah. I think they're just using that as a way just to push that over. Like, you're never going to join the league, buddy. But I mean, Tyreek Hill, I was looking at him, and it's not a bad sort of pick. Honestly, he has helped Tua a lot, and I mean, he is one of the best wide receivers to play right now in the season, and so I think that's not a bad take. I mean, he has 1,400 yards and 12 touchdowns already, and I mean, I could see him if he continues on to maybe double that if he can. If Tua just starts targeting him, no, like nonstop. But I don't know. I mean, I would like a non-quarterback player to win it, but that's like saying like McCaffrey is going to get it. That's a slim chance. Yeah. So
Okay.
fair.
Yeah. Well, then that just leaves Mr. Chris P to his MVP pick. So who you got?
Okay, so MVP for me is a very difficult and hard situation. I like I was saying, I juggled between Tyreek Hill. I even thought about McCaffrey. I mean, uh, he has 1,000. He broke 1,000 yards now, has 12 touchdowns, and he looks really, really good considering he hasn't been injured. Um, and I also thought, maybe CJ Stroud, but looking at his schedule, I was like, that would be a great cop out pick. But I gotta think realistically, Patrick Mahomes, sorry to say, but you're not my pick because he has not done really well. And I don't think he deserves it, to be honest. I know people keep saying, oh, it was between Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes with Dak Prescott, which I think Dak, I mean, the sort of crap that I said in the beginning of this podcast, maybe he heard it, you know. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, he literally said, I'm going off, but he's still not my pick. I still think he will. When I think of MVP, I think throughout, even through the playoffs, who is the most valuable player, still shining against these big teams.
It's okay,
And
Chris. We all know you're going to say Gardner Minshew.
oh yeah, yeah. So that being said, I'm going to pick Brock Purdy. The
Big
reason why
Brock.
Big Brock. I mean, he's coming off of being Mr. Irrelevant. He was put in a position where last year where he is like, who is this kid? He's like he is out there like like what is he gonna do? And yes, I said that, he has a great team around him, but he's also the one that is throwing it, making sure that these passes are getting there, are making sure that McCaffrey's getting it. I think McCaffrey's excelling from it too. He has an electrifying offense. And with that, I mean, he has a rating of 116. Stats are not always the best thing, but I think Brock Purdy is showing off to say that, like, I am the best player right now out here, and he's crushing it. And any quarterback will have their ups and downs, but he's right now, I think, will shine even through the playoffs. I think the 49ers, I hope that they go all the way and win a Super Bowl this year, but if they can stay healthy, so hopefully Brock won't have any injury, and he's a great dude. Literally, he lives a mediocre life just like anyone else, and he doesn't consider himself like the most special person because like people, you think like, oh, he had a great year last year, he's just gonna have inflated head, but he goes in there and he does his job, leaves out, and serves the community. So
And he wears his hats backwards, which obviously means that he's a bad quarterback.
Stop.
All
right, you're off. You're done. You're muted. I'm kidding.
That's why she didn't join last couple of weeks.
Oh, she was working
yeah.
on that take, huh?
How'd you know?
Man.
Yeah.
Well-
Obviously, that's a really good indicator of how good of a player you are.
Exactly. No, I can see Brock Purdy. I know
Yeah, me too.
a lot of people don't like it, but he is playing really well. Come on, like give the man props. Like he's been doing a good job. He didn't turn the ball over last week. They trust him a lot with the ball in his hand. And even though, yeah, he's got plenty of weapons around him, should we really use that against him? Like, I mean, I think every quarterback would love to have that many weapons around them, that kind of offensive line, that kind of everything, like we can't put him down for having good weapons. And simply he diced up the defense against Philly this week, who has a good defense, So honestly, I can see this one. I'm
Remember
not against it.
Remember the 2 to 3 weeks when all of America was convinced Brock Purdy was bad because he had an injury and he had those 2 games where he was just like not good. And people were like, well, guess we're seeing the true Brock Purdy. Guess he is bad after all. And then he came back and was like, guys, I just was hurt. I'm fine. And now everyone's like, he could win an MVP. I remember all those people on the internet saying, I wonder if he's actually good. Like, no, he was just hurt. I think that your take is completely reasonable, Chris. It would not surprise me if that's who they picked at all.
I think what's also funny is a lot of people call him, like the check down hero, just constant check downs. He has the longest like pass or what is it, yards per attempt or yards per pass in the NFL. I think it's like 9.1, something like that.
9.6.
9.6. Yeah. So man's cooking. He's not just checking it down, to McCaffrey all the time. He's throwing deep too.
Mhm.
Hey, you know what's going to push him over the threshold of winning MVP? Using the best player on their team. Come on, we all know who I'm talking about. Not McCaffrey, not Devo, not Kittle. The
Don't
one,
say it.
the only Kyle Juszczyk.
All right, we're done. Good night,
All right,
everyone.
it's over.
So we're back to oh my
He
gosh,
has
the
one
first
touchdown this year. That's all I'll say. Okay.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
gosh. For those of you who didn't know, the Chelsea picked Juszczyk in our fantasy draft, and man
Who
gets
she
no
dropped
touch.
in like 2 or 3 weeks.
And like we all just wondered why he doesn't get any touches. They don't use him anymore. I think they used to years ago, but
And
now they
The
don't.
fun fact is, she was 100% stating or being truthful and saying, "I think he's going to get running touchdowns because they're going to get to the one and going to use him." And you know what? She was sticking to that until she dropped him on like week 2 or 3, and then he got a touchdown like in 2 weeks after that.
Yeah. So frick all of you. Just kidding. No, but seriously, I'm just saying, if you're on the 1/2 yard line, yeah, you could give it to McCaffrey. But hear me out. You could give it to Kyle Juszczyk, who needs his spot in the glory in this offense. All right. Bro deserves some credit. Go,
On the
Kyle.
sideline.
Oh, man.
Guys, yeah, let us know what you think of Big Juszczyk down in the comments. Should they use Juszczyk more? Use Juszczyk. Come on.
Hashtag use Juszczyk.
Oh my gosh. Well, guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up for today's episode. So Chelsea, would you like to lead us out?
Yeah, for sure. So thanks for listening, guys. Tune back in next week for more content. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter or X. Apparently it's not Twitter anymore, but follow us on X at LaunchCodesFB and on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at LaunchCodesFootball. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Chris W.
And I'm Chris P.
And we will see y'all next week. Later.
Bye.